You can't go back. Let me repeat that. This message is for some of you. If it does not apply to you, you can stop right now and listen to another message. But if it applies, listen. You can't go back. Some of you are longing back to how things were. And I'm telling you, plain and simple, you can't go back. I'm going to give a small parable to you. Let's say you were in an extermination camp. You have this dictatorship in your country that's secretly killing off people. And let's say you were deported to a concentration camp, which where they intend to exterminate you. And let's say that for the past 3 months, every morning you had a cup of coffee with one of your fellow prisoners. He was an older man in his 80s. He kind of gave up already, was thought he's old already, so he didn't even think about escaping. But let's say you're in your early 20s and you think, I'm not about to die, I still have my whole life ahead of me. You manage to escape out of that extermination camp. And let's say you always had a cup of coffee with him on Wednesday. And let's say you escaped Thursday morning. And now it's almost a week later, it's Wednesday again. Are you ever going to go back to that extermination camp to have a cup of coffee with that same individual? No. That individual either died, or better said, he was killed, or he may have escaped, so he's not there anymore. Either he escaped or he was killed over there. And for you to go back to that extermination camp, that is the same as putting yourself in harm's way to be killed. So you're not going to do that either. You've escaped from the extermination camp. There is no turning back. You can't go back. I don't care how kind he was. I don't care how pleasant and how exciting those conversations were. You can't go back. Let me give another illustration, a less intense one. Let's say that you were married. Your husband cheated on you, and you had a divorce. And now your husband married someone else, and he had children with that other woman, who's now his wife. Can you ever go back to how things were between you and your ex-husband? No, because there's another wife involved now, and there are children now involved from that other marriage. So for you to even think about going back to how things were, to work things out, that's not applicable anymore. If things had to be worked out while you were still married or while you were in a phase of divorce. So anyone can understand, okay, you can't go back. You can't take back time. Let's say you had a family and the family was broken completely. And the children all grew up. And they even have their own families now. Can you, after 30 years of a messed company family, say, I want a happy family life with my children again? No, because they're not the little children anymore. They're all grown ups with their own issues to deal with, and they may have issues against you that they need to process because you messed up your family. So understand that in life, there are going to be things that will have to remain in the past. Not because those things of the past were bad, but because they can't be applicable today anymore. Another example. Let's say that you find a vacancy, and that vacancy is to serve as a customs officer for the Spanish Navy in Chile. But you look at the date, it's a vacancy from the year 1803. It's not applicable anymore because the Spanish Empire, like it was, does not exist anymore. And Chile now is a republic. People don't feel like Spaniards anymore. They feel like Chileans. So there is no possible way that vacancy can be applicable today because the context has changed, it's expired. Now that's a very, very obvious example that if you find an old vacancy, some archive of some vacancy for some Spanish office in Spanish America, then you know that Spanish America is not here anymore. Now it's Latin America. So some things cannot be recreated without any controversy. Because it goes like this. If you reflect on the past, you process it. And that enables you to move forward in the here and now. If you look back on the past because you're longing back to it, you're hindering yourself and others. And nothing good will come from that. Some people are escaping the past. And that is the same as looking into the past. Because you define your life based only on what happened. Whether you're escaping from the past or you are looking back onto it. If you're escaping from it, that means that you have an aversive attachment to the past, like you really don't want it anymore. If you are looking into the past, that means that you have an attraction towards the past. Where you have an aversion to the past or an attraction to the past, in both cases, you need to realize you can't go back. So that means if you're fleeing from the past by rushing yourself into new relationships and in new jobs, all of that, that means you need to stop, reflect, and process things. A lot of folks are fleeing from the past and they end up being catched up by those same patterns and cycles they're fleeing from. Fleeing from patterns and cycles will never work. You'll need to process what happened to be delivered. And listen to what I'm saying here. Some of you are keeping yourself in unnecessary danger and in unnecessary affliction because you long back to how things were. Now, you may not want it to, with the same people of the past. Some of them may have passed away, some of them may have moved on, but whatever you had in the past, you want to recreate it with other people. And that's also something you need to stop. What if that thing you're longing back to was not good for you? What if you have a bunch of friends that you used to chill and hang out with, but those friends were not really good for you because they weren't even good to themselves? Now, those people moved on in the sense that they moved to other places. And now you want, instead of those people, you want other people to have the same type of environment with. So you want to recreate the environment you had with those people, but with new people in your life. That can be problematic because those new people need to match your expectation. But even if they do, and you manage to recreate whatever you had in the past with these new people, what if the thing you want to recreate is not good for you? What if it was a good thing that thing of the past is in the past and not in the present? Too many people don't self-reflect and they don't examine the context. Every human relationship occurs in a context. And therefore, that relationship can only be safe and fruitful if that context is still there. Look at the example I gave to you about this vacancy for some customs officer in the Kingdom of Chile from 1803. Now today is 2020. So the Spanish Empire in South America is gone for a long time. So the context is not there. So if you would apply for that vacancy, you say in your resume, people think, what? It's 2020 and this guy is responding to a vacancy from the year 1803? People would be, they'll be quite shocked that someone would not be able to see the context. Now, I know this example of that vacancy from 1803 is quite extreme, but bear with me now. Every human relationship occurs in a context. Human relationships don't just happen out of the blue. There's someone that took the initiative because he or she wanted something, and because of that, there was a response or a reaction, and a relationship developed. Or someone had the lead in a situation, and it caused people to come together, and that's why connections were formed. Every human relationship occurs in a context. Once the context changes, either the relationship has to end or the relationship has to be reformed. For example, if someone is going through a transition in their life, let's say that one of their parents passed away, and now, or their parents are in a divorce, and they are teenagers, parents are in a divorce, it's very hard for them, and they are online. And online, they become part of a subculture, and they even meet people from that subculture. But now they're 23. Now, let's say that individual's on 23. He or she, let's say she now is about to get married, she's pregnant. What's going to happen? The context of her parents divorcing is long over. Her parents are divorced. And the transition into adulthood that she had in her late teens is also over. So that subculture that she joined and those friendships that developed were only appropriate in that context. But that context is gone now. So either they transform those relationships into adult relationships, which goes beyond that subculture. Now they can still listen to the music of the subculture and have talks about it, bring back old memories if they want, but they need to transform the relationships because now there's a new situation. And you know what, believers? A lot of people, unfortunately, also some believers can't do this. They have difficulty in the context. And because they have difficulty seeing the context, they end up staying in situations that they should have left, and they end up sponsoring and supporting things that go against their long term best interest. Okay, let me give another example. Let's say you, and not about you, but let's say now you have a company, and this company is the leader in that franchise. Let's say it's a company that delivers, let's go back in time, typing machines. Typing machines were quite important for offices. So you had this corporation in Britain that was the lead in producing typing machines. Then after all, then it's the 1970s and things were taken over by computers. So now computers become the new norm, and now a lot of things are done by machines, automatically. So what's going to happen at the company? That company had its relevance in producing typing machines. That was the needs they provided for society. That's what made them relevant as a company. So the CEO of that company, the managers, they all had a high position and high salary because of the relevancy of that company. But now that typing machines are not used much anymore, either the business needs to shift to another product or to remain relevant, or the business has to die out. Because because in a new era where type machines are not used anymore, but computers are used, they will not make as much profit anymore. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't recognize the context of the times. For let's say, for example, you have this, how to say, this teenage celebrity. He is playing in some television series that's aired all over the country. During his teens and his early 20s, he's quite famous. But let's say now it's over 20 years ago that the last episode of that series was aired. Let's say that while he was between 13 and 15, he was in this series for 2 years long. And let's say now that he's now beyond 30. Now it's more than 15 years ago that he actually played in that series. The series, most people don't even remember the series anymore. So what happens now? This guy used to be famous. Till 5 years after he left, till 5 years after the series, he still had some fame. People remembered him. Oh, this guy used to play the lead character in that series. But meanwhile, other series came out with other teenage celebrities, so people kind of forgot about him. So he used to be famous, but he's not famous anymore. What if he acts as if he's still famous, and he expects people to recognize him? And people think, "Huh, who's this guy?" He's not famous anymore. And there are people, I don't want to say Hollywood, but there are people in the entertainment industry that used to be famous, but they're not famous anymore. Their fame faded away, but some still behave like they're famous. Now they do get VIP cards, they do get some privileges because they used to be stars, but most people don't even know who they are. Most people don't even want to see them anymore. A lot of their fans that used to be their die-hard fans when they were younger now have enough of thinking, okay, dude, you were 15 back then. Of course, we were teenagers too. Of course, we liked it, but now we are grown men. Now they're viewed differently. Imagine you have a guy. Let's say that you were a 15-year-old girl and you loved this guy from this boy band, and now you're in your 40s. You have teenage children of your own, and you have that same guy that you used to like when you were a teenager. He's now in his 60s, and he still acts as if he's that young dude that has all the women screaming for him. You're going to think, what? Come on, that time is long past. Look, what I'm making plain in this recording is there are things that need to pass away. And when things are passing away, let them pass away. I'm not saying you should not make effort for other people. I'm not saying you shouldn't make effort for your relationships. You should. But some relationship needs to end for you to move forward. Because let me tell you, some people, they don't mean to. It's not their intention, but they will hold you back. They will undermine you. They will ruin your life if they remain with you. Some people, they need to leave you for things to become better with you. Another example. Yes, I know I'm using a lot of examples here, but I'm using these examples to teach you. What if you had a time in your life that you were stuck in drinking alcohol because you just lost your job or something else happened and you became addicted without you being aware of it? You're not making any excuses, you took responsibility, and you're sober. You went to AA meetings for a while, and now it's all behind you. Those people you met at those AA meetings, is it wise for you to remain in contact with them after you are freed from that alcohol addiction, from alcoholism? No, because many of them are still struggling, or they have fallen back, and those people, they will bring back old associations with them. So now that you're sober from alcohol, you shouldn't invest in relationships that occurred while you were addicted and while you were recovering. If you have people from that time that were good to you and it is beneficial for you to keep them around, that's good. But don't pick up relationships that don't belong in the present anymore. And this has nothing to do with whether people can do something for you or not. I'm not telling you to be narcissistic and to own and to exploit people and only value people when they can do something for you. I'm telling you to look at reality. I'm not saying that you can't reconnect with someone that you used to know years ago. You can, of course you can. But look at the context. The context is what many people are missing when making such decisions. Many people, when it comes to relationships in daily life, they make the decisions based on their emotions or based on expectations they haven't examined. I'm telling you, look at the context. You cannot go back. Whether it's going back with the same people or with new people, you can't go back. Trust Christ with your future. Be at peace.